Okay, so the first one
Handwritten post-it
on
notes.
increasing sales and gross. First one is to reduce the shop supplies policy. Not our department managers and GM signing every bill, but department managers and or the GM needs to sign every shop supply, or this department manager needs to sign the shop supplies bill, and anything getting billed to service policy needs to be signed by either the GM or the service manager, like every time.
So I think the problem is the service manager has been doing it, the GM doesn't obviously agree with it sometimes, so we wanna make sure that the GM's aware of the policy, right?
Yeah, exactly, and that was kind of the thing is, part of it, especially when we've had some high policy months, some high shop supplies months, the conversation was either, I didn't know that, and which is a problem, which we had at one of the stores, or alternatively was, yeah, the GM knows all about that. It's like, well, do they? Because when I asked the GM, it's like, well, I thought it was 70% of that number. So that's what.
Yeah, so one of the things we're gonna do, guys, just to interrupt Whylie real quick, is we're gonna have a signature. The signature from when the controller does the statement review with me, the shop supply or the policy, just like the advertising, needs to have a signature on it. It's really important that I know that the controller has reviewed the advertising expense with you. Perry wanted you to have, you're the guy who's doing all these software support fees. It made no sense really when you thought about it. How is Perry not signing off on these bills? And we found out that some of them weren't right, they weren't charging us right. So, you know, there's little things like that where there's gonna be more accountability if you're a GM to make sure that you're signing off. The controller is gonna send you a package and you can either reply back or a signature, whatever it's gonna be. But we really wanna get more structured on some of these things so that we don't find out, like, the shop supply is a big one because we have such a variance. You know, the top company, which has the most work orders, is Kelowna Hyundai, but they had the lowest amount of shop supply credit. It made no sense because there wasn't accountability to that, right? Where you take a look at Woodgrove, you know, Brad put some stuff in, and all of a sudden now we got $5,000 to $6,000 credit immediately, right? So.
And that was really is having the service manager sign off, I mean, literally pen to paper, sign off on shop supplies every time something's getting billed. Because that conversation, when we've had that before, it's like, did you realize that we just bought $800 worth of whatever? And it's like, well, hang on, and that having that conversation prevents that from happening the next month and the next month, and it helps us get better. So that's something we're gonna do right now with a pen, right? Part of the increase on the sales side is normally going to be a door rate increase this time of year, but also a warranty rate increase. Now, Chrysler has already done theirs, Kia's already done theirs. The 3 Hyundai stores, it's in February, but I want to raise the door rates, increase all the door rates at the 3 Hyundai stores right now, because the warranty rate is based on your retail rate. Just like at Nissan, we just raised the door rate at Nissan because the Nissan warranty rate is based on, you have to submit a certain number of customer pay ROs and prove to them this is the door rate that you're using. So we raised the retail door rate just now at Nissan last week, so that we have a couple of weeks to 3 weeks to a month to clock in some retail ROs, so that we can submit in February when we do the Hyundai stores, a warranty rate increase, to start getting an extra $8, $9 an hour or whatever they're gonna give us at all the stores to get the income up.
What are the Hyundai door rates right now? Simon, what's your door rate?
We're on 159. Right now it's 159.
Okay. Sam, Rizzy?
Yeah, we're 159 on gas and then 169 on EV.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any reason. Again, I wrote down survey local door rates, and then I realized, you know, so what? So I'm gonna call the Ford store and the Toyota store and find out that they're either at 159 or 169. If we're gonna say, no, we're switching from 159 to 169, we're just gonna do it and move on with our lives, right? As opposed to, we're gonna have to do a survey in a month anyway for Hyundai and for the other increase, or for Nissan. But that's really, in my mind, now that the more I've been thinking about it, it's kind of a formality. You know, when we were talking about Nissan, actually, Kelowna Nissan is charging $179 an hour for some of their repairs. So, you know, so not all of them, but I mean, that's the door rate on some of their diagnostics. So that for us to be scared to go from 141 to 159 just didn't make any sense. So we're just gonna do an increase and figure it out on the back nine, and that's gonna help us get more warranty rate increases at all the stores. Right, so the last change at Kelowna Hyundai was was May at the internal rate. Obviously changing the retail door rate and changing the internal rate is gonna happen at the same time, so we're gonna talk about that over the next couple days as well. I think it's a given. I mean, again, we did that at Nissan and it was like, you know, our door rate's gonna be 159, our internal rate's gonna be 179 and go, right? And we just make the change. So we're gonna do that again at all the stores. Warranty rate increase submissions is time. Like I said, we wanna do the retail ones first, let a couple of weeks clock by so we can say, yep, this is our rate, and then they'll always get a bigger warranty rate increase. One of the big things that's gonna be a real thing for me with this parts and service departments in 2023 is promoting more urgency to get the vehicles in, inspections done, parts located, sold. I mean, one of the things that Sam and I both talked about yesterday was how, you know, engines tripped us up with Kelowna and Vic. Kelowna worse, but still, we really tripped on our shoelaces on that. And had we done the urgency, and that just really showed me on all of this, at all the stores, that really needs to be the mindset from me every time, every manager, every staff, urgency every time to get things done, get the inspections done. It ties into your used car reconditioning. I know that, you know, there was one car at Vic actually, where they did an engine job and it needed a rad cap, and they kept the car for an extra couple days because of a rad cap. So that kind of stuff, we're gonna do some common sense and urgency training, I am, at all the stores, using those kind of examples to get the parts managers, to get the parts departments and then the parts managers escalating. And I think that's something that, I mean, I've always done a lot of, is how can I get this and how can I get it ASAP? I don't think that sometimes I've translated that well to all the parts and service managers, and therefore all the parts and service staff is to go, we gotta get it done, right? So that's the big focus for myself moving forward. NPS. How do we improve NPS? Well, step one, I guess, is this meeting. To, you know, if we want to get our customers to say that we're giving them good service, step one, we should probably give them good service. So that's kind of part of what came out of this, but making sure that every service advisor at all the stores has copies of pre-made text templates for easier and more structured status updates. We've done that sporadically at one or two of the stores. It went really well, and then we stopped doing it, and then didn't implement it across all the stores. So again, great idea, didn't implement it. So in PBS, I'm sure everybody knows, like, we can send text to our customers. 90% of our customers, if you ask them, would you like me to call you or text you, they're all gonna say, just send me a text, whatever, right? That's the vision of the future, is to send people text. You can have, in a document off to the side, some pre-made templates. We've started to do that in parts, we're gonna do it everywhere, about, hey, this is me from here, your part has arrived, please contact me, we're open Monday to Friday, like those kind of things. Hey, this is, my name is blah blah from this store, just giving you a status update on your car, and then they fill in what the status update is. But it's a primer where they paste it, fill in the bits, hit send, super easy. Those kind of things, I'm gonna be the one developing that and making sure it ends up at all the stores.
Well, that's a great one, because obviously status updates are an area where every customer wants a higher level of status updates on their vehicle, because their vehicle's sick or needs some sort of repair, needs some sort of work. How long would that take to roll out? Like, what's the plan on that as far as the one?
Well, I haven't done it yet. I haven't written it up. I'm assuming it's gonna be like within a week, because I'm
not trying to put pressure, I just
No,
want to know.
I'm just saying,
it's a good idea.
there's the quick and dirty,
Right.
and then there's the pursuit of perfection. Now, as we've talked about previously during these 2 days, there's no such thing as perfect. What's better is fail fast, right? So I'm gonna pencil out some stuff, I'm gonna sleep on it, and then the next day I'm gonna pencil in some more and go, okay, let's do it, let's try these. And some of them we're probably gonna delete and never use again, and some we're gonna add some things to, and we're gonna build it. We're just gonna start doing it.
So you think we're like a week out?
Within the next week, yeah. I wanna do this, again, I haven't started my travel schedule for, like, I'm at Kelowna and Penticton next week, but then I'll be going out of town again, starting my travel roadshow the week after that. I wanna have this stuff kind of nailed down while I'm in Kelowna and Penticton next week, so that we can have it ready, or have a version of it ready to start playing with it and testing it and see. Because we can use it at Nissan, we can use it at Kia, like, it's not complicated. It's
Quite
just,
honestly, you guys can use it in sales too for your factory orders. There's ways of getting these to people by text, right?
because sometimes when we have the advisors, they're like, well, I don't know what to say, or blah, blah, blah. you know, you get the excuse.
You just don't wanna think about it. You just
Yeah,
wanna
yeah,
do it.
exactly.
Yeah.
But when you hand it to them and go, here's the, whatever, documented Word or whatever, I don't know what it's gonna be yet, but it's like, here's what you say. You know, when you're giving them their status update at 11 o'clock, take this one, paste it, put your name on it, hit send. Like, literally 15 seconds or less and you're done, and move on to the next guy. Because like one of our advisors yesterday had 10 or 11 work orders that he wrote up. And his feedback was, man, it was a crazy day. You know, I don't know. And he didn't have time to really do good status updates. There was 11 names on your list, and if you would have just go hit send with these, if they're pre-canned messages, that makes sense. Obviously, that's part of it is, I wanna make sure that we're in control of the messages, that we're not just shooting from the hip sometimes. Because I can, in PBS, anytime we send a customer a message, you can read back through those. And there's been some times with some of our previous advisors don't work here anymore. I've looked back on some of these engine jobs, some of the stuff that we've said to people, and we were kind of shooting from the hip a little bit, and it kind of caught us off guard. Like, yeah, go ahead and get a rental, we'll figure it out later, like that kind of stuff. So we have to be aware of what we're texting to these people. And part of that is to have pre-canned ones, not necessarily about rentals, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To control the message a little bit, because these advisors don't work here anymore, but yet Kelowna Hyundai said, right, and now we own that message. So we want to control that message as much as we can and move it forward. So that I'm doing.
Should we even be approving rentals via text message? Like, should they even
100%
have
no.
that?
No,
Should you
no,
have that
I was, we shouldn't have had that
Should never be an
conversation
option,
like
right?
that.
I mean,
No, and
everything
I'm,
is private.
just, there's not gonna be one saying, hey, go get a rental. That's not gonna be one of my line items. I'm just saying, you know, this is part of the thing that spurred it for me is, you know, we're saying stuff to customers via text, which is in writing, which here we are, and we own it now. And so that led me to one of the main things we need to do is get status updates for all the manufacturers, but control the message as much as we can, in a positive way. One of the things that Perry and I had spoken about in service departments that we had done a not great launch of, that we kind of have now in the last week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, been trying to do more of what I'm calling a soft launch to get back on track and then work with it, is using tablets or phone version of PBS to capture VIN and mileage every time. Because it's caused us some brain damage at a couple of the stores to try to do a warranty claim and oops, we don't have the VIN and mileage. Even though, I mean, a store like Kelowna Hyundai, the car is literally in your service drive, you're standing right next to it. And we didn't take a picture of the VIN and mileage, which they need for a lot of claims now. So part of our walk around procedure is gonna be, or is, to take a picture of the VIN and the mileage with either using the PBS on a tablet or using their phone if they're having technical issues. And again, part of 2023 is me working with Perry to solve or talk about these issues and workarounds to make it so that it works. I don't want to give advisors something that sucks, because I wouldn't want to use something that sucks. I mean, why would I want to give that to them and go, I know it's really brutal to use, but I want you to do it anyway? No, we want to do stuff that makes sense and that works, and makes their lives better. So that's something that, again, because it kind of didn't go great the first time, I've been doing kind of a soft launch. Kelowna Hyundai now is checking in all their cars using VIN and mileage. I checked with Cassandra yesterday. We just brought up a couple of random warranty claims from yesterday, from 2 days ago now. Every single one had VIN and mileage on it. So that one, the soft sell approach kind of worked, but now it's going to be dialing it up and making sure that we're actually doing it and tracking it better.
When they use the tablets or phone versions, that's going to use one of our licenses in PBS, which means we're going to have
Not
more.
anymore, not anymore.
Are you sure?
I didn't think it did, but again, that
They used to,
technical
they
issue.
used
They
have
used to,
control
and
of
that's why
those
they gave us
phones.
those free temporary licenses for like 5 months until the PBS fixed the system,
Okay.
but now it's fixed.
But that's exactly the kind of problem solving that I wanted to do, to go through it and go, well, wait a minute, we can't do that because of whatever, and then remove the whatever. Like before it was Wi-Fi, now our Wi-Fi is amazing. Like, take care of these problems so that we can actually do it and say, I've tested it, I know it works, okay, go. So that's something that we're doing as well. Parts. So one of the things that we've been challenged with, and again, this is a bit of a work in progress as well, is to let the service department know about special order parts that arrived, to be more quick, which is going to improve CSI, get the vehicles off the lot. Part of it was a manpower issue at some of the stores. You know, we kind of lost track at a couple of them because it's like, well, if I'm back up 12 engines, how much do I care that the 13th engine has arrived? Like, I get it. But new year, new mindset, it's about urgency and having that filter down from me to the managers and parts and service. to move it along and let's go. So that's part of it as well. That's gonna be a focus for me when I'm doing my traveling roadshow business with these guys. Staffing. Spent a good chunk of time talking about staffing, better people in the right positions. Big thing for me is to make a plan to have an assistant manager in all parts and service departments within the next 6 months. That's gonna be a challenging one, especially when we look at Kia, you know, but on the flip side, look at how much different life would be at Kia if we had a strong number 2 or even a number 2 in place, and then, you know, somebody like Eric says, hey, you know, 9 days from now I'm gone. Okay, well, we've got 9 days to get your number 2 up to speed. You know, last 2 days, Brent's been sick in parts department. Steven's not officially the assistant parts manager, but by default he has been the last 2 days. I've been helping him in between a little bit during the breaks whenever, but he's been doing the heavy lifting for 2 days. So to formalize and structure that, either, you know, over the next couple 6 months, like Steven's a good example, to say like 6 months from now, I want you to be the assistant parts manager. Here's what that path looks like. Here's the training you're gonna do. Here's the DCS courses you're gonna do. We're gonna spend time, Brent is and I am, talking to you about what ordering looks like. So if you have to do a stock order, which you're gonna have to do, here's what that looks like. Here's our parameters, and on and on and on. Here's what a service manager looks like. Here's what an assistant service manager does. And we've got 6 months. I'm not saying we're gonna have people in place next month. That's not even the target. That would be unrealistic and crazy. I'm saying summertime. I'm saying, so if we could go into vacation season with every parts and service department having a number 2, like a decent number 2 or on the path, that's our succession.
I think that's such a great retention tool, Whylie. Like it gives A, the employee something to look forward to. B, if something official or unofficial happens, they're not as panicked about it and stressed about it. It's almost turned into a deterrent when somebody gets an opportunity in fixed ops because somebody's moved on or they're sick or whatever, because they're so stressed about not being able to handle the pressure of walking into that position. Now we can have a plan, they have something to look forward to, they're gonna get trained. When it does happen, it turns into a positive, rather than a huge negative where it's like, hey, this person quit, you gotta jump in and kind of do their job, and you know, they're all
Well, what it
stressed
is
out.
right now, basically, every store, if we lost the service manager or they're on holidays, we have nobody to cover.
Correct, and me and JK spoke about that over coffee. The complete opposite is, you know, in sales, we have tons of confidence that, you know, if any GM leaves, the GSM can handle the sales department and give us time to properly vet a GM, and maybe that guy becomes the next GM or whatever the case may be, but there's
Miles
no...
managers can jump into that.
Correct, there's no panic, it's business as always, there's obviously a little bit of short-term stress, but in fixed ops, we're so vulnerable when it comes to that.
Well, how many times over the last 2 days have we said, hey, we do it in sales, it's really successful. What about parts and service? Like, every time have we said that. So, like, it's not like I invented the idea of having an assistant manager, it's just, you know, we're going to get an assistant manager for every department by summer. That's gonna mean some recruiting, that's gonna mean some transferring, potentially. Again, I haven't worked out all the details on this. The idea,
I think it's important
to lay out the framework.
just to have a roadmap, right? Like
Exactly.
You talk about the employee.
Yeah, just to say the thing out loud.
Employee journey, well, this is now a company journey for us for each department, is that, you know, we know, like, even in accounting, to have an assistant controller, it makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And make sure that more people can do other things than just, you know, sometimes, you know, one person does this. You know, even with warranty, you know, right, you know, one of the reasons why we hired Scott Jackson back is so we have more support with extra things, right?
Yeah. And by default,
And it's
it's
gonna
almost
mean that
like,
we stop more people, guys. I think I told you that sometimes I need to, when I shared some of my strengths and weaknesses, and I have it here, and, you know, I'm gonna keep mine, and Brandon didn't get to hear him, but, you know, me being more openness to, like, I've been a pretty cost analysis person, right? So it's like, well, the formula says that this is how many people you're supposed to have in accounting. You know, the formula says this is how many people you're supposed to have in service as a service manager, and unless you're doing this many work orders, you don't need an assistant. And, you know, where I have to now kind of look at that, maybe, you know, my formula that made me really successful isn't a good formula anymore for us to really get to where we want to go. So part of it's going to be that it's going to be less profit, but it's going to be, I think it's going to be better in the long run for customer experience, and I think, you know, if we make a little bit less in each department by hiring more people, but I think the 3-year goal, which is when we go back on that board there, the levels where you plan, I'm planning out more 3 to 5 years, maybe that looks better 3 years from now, otherwise.
Good problem.
Well, like Rocky said, less profit, but also less stress.
Right.
At every
It's more sustainable profit.
Yeah.
Correct, long term.
Yeah.
It's not short term.
Yeah.
And it's less stress on every position, not even the person getting thrust or the people around that, but corporate.
I know, Brad, you've been
Ownership.
talking to me about that a lot too, right? Where I wanna have more people, like, you know,
Yeah.
you sometimes challenge me, sometimes your camera is different than mine, I'm sometimes push back on, but, you know, I'm gonna be more open to adding some positions, cause I think it's the right thing to do.
Well, it plays into NPS and service as well.
And if we're gonna, not, like, what Rocky said is, like, if we wanna be a fast moving, was that my term?
Fast mover.
Fast mover.
Especially in departments that I'm not
All
strong
right.
in.
That's
I'm a believer in, like, if we wanna run a little bit of lean in sales right now, like, I know I'm super strong, I can fill in for any of the guys if they ever leave, like, that's no problem, but I obviously know that my weakness has been in service, so my mentality the last year has just been like, train and plug people in, so there's like, I'd rather have way too many staff and make less than have too little.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, and I still believe this, I think we're fast moving in sales and a lot of things. We're very impeded in a lot of the other departments, so we're gonna have to, you know, so, you know, when Whylie talked to me about this, I thought it was a great idea, but it's not just in parts and service. It's in the other departments, it's in accounting, it's, you know.
And there's some heavy lifting to get this done. This is not a gimmick
Yeah.
that we have people in
But
place
it's
now.
gonna mean that we have more employee expense, is what it's gonna come down to.
In the long run, though, that will be cost saving. Turnover is incredibly expensive.
Yeah.
You've
Let's
got
put a number on it.
reputation
Yeah.
to the side of it, but the cost, because you've got somebody trying to train and coach, so their productivity's down. Somebody else isn't performing 100% because they are learning, and the chances of them leaving and you having to repeat the process.
It's just better all around. And plus, it's part
Yeah.
of like the journey that I've been talking about myself personally. If I'm gonna stop being a level 1 and be a level 2 and looking 3 to 6 months down the road, part of 3 to 6 months is something happens with Eric, what's our plan? We don't have a plan, we're in a place that wanted at. Like, something happens with Brent sick for 2 days, what's our plan? Hope Steven doesn't have a heart attack. I don't know, like, that's not a plan. We have to be training them, so there's a person in place, so when the, you know, manager goes on vacation or whatever, it's like, time to step up, baby, and they're ready, like, or close to ready with a little bit of backing. So,
If there's capacity, people then have the time to learn and grow, so you can add more value as well. If you've got everybody at 80%, you've got room when somebody's off, and you've got room to grow those individuals.
well, even like what I was saying about trying to get things done quicker and also NPS, my real thought process with the service departments was, how much different would engine season be if you had an assistant to the manager? And that another set of hands, another set of eyes, auditing the keys, auditing the engines, being the driver, talking to the techs, like being that guy to help, you know, working with the advisors, just a second person giving support to the manager and whatever to drive ahead NPS, service profitability, like all of that, to be an extra set of hands. Because the plan can't be like previously, my thought was always, again, being the level 1 guy, well, I'll go for it, right? That's not sustainable. First of all, we're in too many cities, it doesn't make sense geographically. But second of all, how is that a plan corporately? You know, 2 things happen in 2 cities at the same time, but which one am I doing? Can't do both. Well, why don't we put an assistant in every store and then?
Yeah, makes
Right.
sense.
So,
good.
that's the main one in my opinion. Support coverage, lead with continuity, anything happens. This is something, again, we talked about what I'm putting it in writing to say that I'm doing this. Part of my plan, again, for 2023, is to actually do one-on-ones with the parts and service managers and go through a report card. So what I've been kind of working with the last while and coming up with some line items is just a report card for the parts department, for the service department. To first of all establish, the conversation was we have to determine what success is. Like, you know, like our VOR percent, our ordering percentage needs to be below 20% at 100. Are we under 20%?
What's our inventory level max that we have to be at?
Yeah, what's our inventory level? Are we too fat on these things? Are we gonna go on a weight loss program? That all ties into ordering and everything else. NPS, CSI, like all of these metrics, put it in a simple report card. It's either green or red, right? So when I go visit these parts managers and service managers, that's what's gonna determine what we're talking about. Obviously training. Part of the other thing we're gonna talk about second here is the training to be excellent. Like right now, our minimum standard, like at a Hyundai store, is onboarding. We're gonna grind through and get them to do onboarding and then probably never talk about training again. Well, on the parts side, they have these ordering videos about how to order things and deal with Hyundai Canada. If you do them all, it takes like 2 hours. They're great. They have a tire video on the Hyundai website. Fantastic. They have a walk-around video. Fantastic. Nobody's ever seen it. Why? I mean, how are we not structuring that to do that? And that's on me to do that now, to make sure that all the parts and service managers are getting these videos, getting this training. We're gonna focus on what's red to get it green, and that's the focus now. Make action plans with the red items with follow-up, and that's what we're tracking. I don't wanna scratch it if it's not itchy. If they're doing good at something, hallelujah, let's focus on the other stuff. So it's the red items that we're gonna talk about. Here's an example of one that we did, basically for Maple Ridge, because that was one of the most successful ones, so more green than red. But like the standard is, are we over 5500 PS? Yeah. You know, so we go down to where the red was, the warranty final, we were only 2/3 of target at this particular point in time. So yeah, let's dive into that. How come our warranty stuff is down? We set a target. Most of the stores are like last year plus 10%, give or take. Very achievable, especially if we're doing warranty rate increases, and that takes care of half of it just on its face. How come we're only 2/3 of target this far in? You know, months to day hours per hour at 1.37 instead of 1.5. Okay, well, let's go into what that is, the maintenance schedules. So the idea is to do a report card that looks like this. And again, I'm gonna send it to the GMs. So everybody's.
It's good data for the GM, so at a glance, right?
Yeah, exactly. What are the red items? If it's green, okay, but we're gonna look at the red items, right, obviously.
I'm just curious on the other GM's feedback, because I just wanna know what you guys think. Do you prefer Whylie to do this on his own and have a meeting with you, or do you wanna be present at the meeting yourself with Whylie?
It's funny, I actually wrote that down, right? Because then at what point, if Wylie's doing one-on-ones with the parts and service manager, and corporate, you guys can speak to this, then for the GM to do another one-on-one that same week, like,
So
there has to
do
be
you-
some continuity between them. Maybe have a plan.
I think Whylie, you could schedule it the same. When you go to that
Well, yeah.
store, you schedule with the GM and say, hey.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that GM should be in there.
So not in advance, but at the same time, talk to the manager. So do this in advance.
I think
Talk
we'll
to the-
huddle first, then do it together.
Yeah.
I think it's a great point that you do the one-on-ones with the parts and service manager with the GM, and you can schedule it very easy.
Yep.
So.
Sure. No,
Now,
that-
if he's
that's
not
the-
in the store for whatever reason, then okay, but I think we should try to have 90% of them done with the GM.
Sure. Well, I'm gonna start sending out my schedule, like a week or two in advance, so that everybody knows where I'm gonna be, so that, you know, they're not wondering. And yeah, we will.
You look at, you know, like Brandon's really good on Outlook, so it's like, you know, you guys do it with me and Jess, but like, he sends you an invite, you accept it, now it's in your calendar. There's no reason why you can't schedule it.
Yeah,
Right.
no, and I will, if that's the feedback, absolutely.
Yeah.
I would wanna
We'll
be
go
there
with the
too.
GM. Yeah, yeah. So, but that's basically, I mean, again, this is the current version of it, that was MRH to the end of November. Again, it's a bit of a work in progress, because I'm trying to determine what are the action items. Like, I don't wanna make it 3 pages long, because again, nobody's gonna look at it. So it was, what are the top 10 bullet points? Well, then it turned into kind of 12, work in progress. If you guys, again, as we're doing these, if you have any feedback, you should add this, you should take away this, tell me. The point of this is for us to get better, right? So
I like it, I mean, obviously I helped Whylie put it together, but obviously with the GMs, please give me your feedback. Do you guys like these report card things?
Yeah, I like that.
I think
Yeah.
it's cool.
Okay.
I think it's cool. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
in time, as we're doing these, if you have feedback.
I remember
Because
when-
Whylie, because, you know, what happened was, and Whylie, we can share the thing, but I said to him, I said, like, what are you doing? Like, what's the plan when you go in the store? And we kind of just, we didn't have structure. He just kind of says, well, you know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna fix this problem, and I said, buddy, come up with a report card, tell me what the KPIs are in parts, the key indicators, and tell me what the key indicators are in service. That's what I wanna see. So then he came back with this is what I think is important. We added a couple, and I mean, it's a work, like you said, it's a work in progress. We might take a couple out or add a couple, but I think there's a really good one. We talk about the staff, we talk about expenses, we talk about, you know, the sales and gross, we talk about CSI, like, you know, you can't talk about everything, but if you pick like 4 or 5 in each department that are really important, and then just, you know,
If we go to a store, if I go to a store and there's 9 red items, again, prioritize, we're gonna have to pick something to talk about first, and that's gonna have to be, we're gonna dial down into this thing till we get it in the green, and we're gonna do the next thing, and that's gonna.
Jordan, do you like that?
Yeah, I like it a lot. I was just gonna say, like, it reminds me of what Haley, when she used to have a pharmacy job. She would bring these things home, and it would be like this, where it would be like red and green and shit like that. And then he would actually give her like a little bit of a score at the bottom. She's like, yeah, I had my it was every 6 months for her, so it's like, I had my 6 month one, and like, got like a 93% or like 96% or something
You
like
can
that.
make it into an actual report
Right.
card where you give them a
This,
percentage.
again, that was, I didn't write it on there, but that was something I was thinking about also. If I'm going there to do a one-on-one with the parts manager or the service manager, that's what this is. This ends up being their one-on-one form, is to say, here's what's going well, here's what's not going well. And that's it. Like, this is really the thing, is how are we gonna do action items on the red items? That's what they're wanting.
Okay, I like it.
And one thing that I've just started to do, but I'm gonna be, again, structuring in there, is twice a month calls with the department managers to review challenges and opportunities as a group. Still working out the bugs on that, because, I mean, we did the last call we did was really Hyundai skewed. And Woodgrove was kind of on the call, but almost none of it applied to them. So I'm still kind of working on what that looks like, so that might change. My current plan is to keep scheduling at the beginning of the month to talk about their month that's coming up and their targets and stuff, and then something around mid-month to kind of say how it's going. Still, that might change, just because it was a bit clunky with the Hyundai store, the Kia store. Nissan and Chrysler were so kind of different. So much of what I was trying to talk about didn't really translate, so it didn't feel like there was as much value having them on the call. And I don't want to waste anybody's time, so I might just stick with my one-on-one thing, unless there's something specific, and I'll call a specific call.
Well, every
Bring it
store has
up.
NPS, KPIs, gross,
Right.
and money, right? So you
Yeah.
still have
So the calls could be just about
NPS,
things that,
and
there
every
must be
store.
some constants in all of them.
Well, there is, and that's what he's saying, like NPS, they all have NPS. So like, talking about when I have that, the texting templates. Yeah, I mean, that's a call to all the service managers at once, to go, I've given you guys all these templates, here's how they work. You know, I may not be at your store for another 2.5 weeks, but let's start using that right now and give me your feedback right away. That kind of thing, where it is constant across all the stores. Again, working it out as far as what does success look like with these calls, so that they're of value, so. Training with department managers. I have a monthly plan for, like, Hyundai Signature, obviously, the things for Hyundai Signature. The advisors, to get to like more of a professional level instead of just the onboarding level. So, I don't know if it's on the next page. Let's see if it is. Okay, training view. Yep. Yeah, we're missing the mark on training. Okay, good. So right now, our onboarding is associate. So that's what I was talking about earlier, where this is our minimum standard, right? Everybody has to do this within that time period. Here, we pay absolutely no attention to this. But like, vehicle inspection and walk around is something that every advisor should do at every Hyundai store. Secret to sales success, customer handling. There's 2 parts to it. I mean, power up your productivity. These are just gonna be part of your training schedule now for all the advisors over time, so that we're not cramming for the exam. And obviously anything else related to signature, we're gonna put that in there as well.
And every manufacturer has something similar.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've been on the Chrysler one. I'm
Yeah.
still a certified parts manager at Chrysler from 100 years ago, but.
Should have timeframes on this too when we hire, like even though the associate's the minimum, like we should, in the training manual, say that within 6 months, we expect you to be at.
100%, and that's one of the line items on our chart that we did here, was what are we doing the first day, what are we doing in the first week, what are we doing in the first month? And that's all structured in that by manufacturer, so that by the time you get to 6 months, or whatever the time period, again, I gotta work out the framework, so that this is obviously done within 30 days, because we need to, but then you're on the path to do this in the first 6 months, and we're gonna do these two in the first month, those 2 in the second month, because these are the best ones, and just break it down into bite-sized pieces. Again, we're gonna tailor it, and I'll review that with the GMs, once we kind of come up
I
with
think
it.
we should accelerate it, because the problem has always been, we've done the bare minimum through the manufacturer,
Yeah.
which is associate training. So associate training, you have to have done within the first year. Well, we're not even getting people to the point in that particular position.
Their expectation is this in
Yeah.
30 days,
Right.
right? We're not, they're giving us the year.
Yeah, they
This
give
is
us 30 to get
30
it done, but professional isn't even on their radar until
I know.
their
It's never on
second
their
year.
radar.
We need to accelerate
I'm gonna
it,
think our
because once you
advisors-
actually go through it, there's so many key points in them developing and.
Yeah, I think what Whylie's given me is an example, and we've talked about it, but like, this is just kind of, this is first step, guys, but part of our journey for the employees now. This is just the manufacturer, but we're gonna have your videos. Like, you're gonna have your report card video, and it's gonna be attached under associate or professional, whatever, and
There you go.
you know, there's gonna be all those type of things, you know, you know, how to properly greet a customer like we do in sales, you know, like, I mean, sometimes I read the surveys and, you know, basic greetings don't even happen in service department, like, the person didn't make eye contact, the person didn't smile, the person didn't acknowledge me within 5 minutes, because he was on his computer, like, we gotta, that's even training, like, just, you know, visual honesty, kinesthetic, like, all those things, so this is just a template of the manufacturer, we're gonna add our own into that, right? So-
Yeah, and this is, again, this exists now, and it's pretty good, you know? We're not using any of it. So that's gonna be part of the structure that I'm gonna come up with, first day, first month, 6 months. Obviously, I'd like to move it forward, like, everybody gets done all of this in the first year. If we can do it sooner and then get these skills, of course we wanna do that. And that's gonna be part of the one-on-ones with the managers to see, can we do this quicker?
Yeah.
Can we get them in to do these ones more? A lot more of these are either on video or in person, so these will be for people that have been here like a little bit longer and we know this is part of their training program to be an assistant manager, but that's all gonna be part of it. This is part of, in my mind, this is part of the assistant manager training, right here, plus our videos, plus teaching them, and that, and putting all that together is our assistant manager program. And I'm gonna put it all down on paper and write it
Nice.
up. So that's what that is. And we will win.
Okay?
Thank you, Whylie.
And we will win.